recently got Invisalign teeth straightening under plastic. Do I need to remove them for wudu actually?
Oh, so it's not a question for him then.
It does say question for Shazai.
Really?
Do I need to remove them for wudu as mouth is part of the face? As its implication. Like just get that question at the start.
Not really. Sit down. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta taj'alu al-hazna idha shi'ta sahla. Allahumma a'inna ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatika ya Rabbal Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, it's good to be back in Shido. We had a crazy session last time, man. It was mental. I laughed too much, Qasam. And I can't let it go in my mind, some of the things that I saw that last week. And I realized that absolution can only come once I release a graphic. There are people who are confused why. A lot of people were confused why I kept calling Sheikh Yasir Qadi Ming the Merciless. So that needs absolution. I think maybe tomorrow I will release my explanation on the world. So the important news, of course, the announcement, mashallah, that was meant to kind of happen today, but then in the end we decided to launch the news via Facebook and Twitter on yesterday, Tuesday, was that alhamdulillah, the Last Testament, the CD that we the play that we recorded, that we designed, we wrote, we designed, and we produced and then executed in this masjid to that audience of Muslims, non-Muslims. So that, alhamdulillah, that, which was very successful. I think we printed upwards of 5, 10, 15,000 in total. 5,000 were ours, and then 10,000 in the other one.
Yeah. 5 days.
Then 10 for one reason or whatever. Yeah. So we printed 15,000, and altogether, and they're all gone. And mashallah, was very, very popular. It was very good, and that was because we had some excellent narrating by Brother Abid Mahmoud, and we had mashallah, alaykum salam, and we had also the qira'ah of Sheikh Abdul Ghaffar and Sheikh Muhammad Ali and Sheikh Abu Omar. So we have these three top qurra, and they're reciting the verses. And it's basically, if you don't know already, then you can go to the Prophetic Guidance website and you will see it at the top there. But basically, it's it's the story of the Quran through the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's very good. I highly recommend it for both your own listening, and then especially to allow non-Muslims also to have a listen. It's very good for them as well. So please feel free to download a copy of that. I think it's like 99 pence. Is it 99 pence? £1.29. It's £1.29. We just literally put it at a nominal price just to spread it out there. And it's on iTunes, and it's on the Android network as well, or whatever. And the links are both there on the website. So inshallah, go down there and spread that as well. Okay folks, so let's start inshallah from where we left off. Actually, we left off at a place where already I've seen a question or two that were a little bit confused concerning the statement when I said that the statement, the furud, which is the obligations of wudu, are 6. And then I said that these obligations here refer to the what? Anyone remember? What we said that they were, other than listing them? We said that they were arkan, isn't it? We said that they were pillars. And then some people said that, well, we understand arkan and obligations to be separate aspects. The arkan are the essentials, and then the obligations are something which are the wajibat, or the fard, which is a level less. And then we have the sunan. And the classic example is the prayer. In the prayer we have arkan, such as reciting Fatiha, such as standing, qiyam, such as going for ruku', such as going for sajda. These are the arkan of the prayer. And then we have then the wajibat, or the furud, the obligations. And again, the words are synonymous. Both words are the same. The fara'id, the furud, and the wajibat, both the same. And what is that? How is that different to the arkan? When you study fiqh of salah, and so those furud are, for example, to say Allahu Akbar when you're going to the ruku', to say Sami Allahu liman hamida when you come up from ruku', to say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, to say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, the first tashahhud, at-tahiyyatu lillah. These are a few of the obligations that you can call them fard of the prayer, the furud of the prayer, or the wajibat of the prayer. So it's actually a significantly different level of action to the arkan. And so some people were rightfully saying, well, how comes here you're saying the furud are the arkan, when in other actions they are two separate classes of two separate categories of action? That's a good question. And Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, he says that in this chapter of wudu, we don't have a variation in the two classes. So here the furud are arkan, and the arkan are the furud. And he goes, and so therefore we know that the scholars, may Allah have mercy upon them, sometimes qad yunawi'un al-ibarat, sometimes they change they use different categories. وَيَجْعَلُونَ الْفُرُودَ أَرْكَانًا, and they sometimes make the furud arkan, and sometimes they make the arkan furud. And this is like a flexible, this is not, remember the Prophet ﷺ, just so that you know, never ever did the Prophet ﷺ ever, or his companions ever said, when you make wudu, then these are the furud, these are the arkan, these are the shurut, these are the wajibat. They understood all the actions just straight off the bat. So when they saw the action being done, they were able to clock on and know that that's an essential thing, and this one I can leave out if I'm feeling, if I'm late or I'm tired or whatever. And this one's nice to do, but you know what, I'm not going to do it too much in case people understand it's something very important. They treated their deen like that. It was very, very kind of, on the fly, and a very easy going. They had a very deep understanding. These categories, classes, explanations, and types, type 1, type 2, this, that, blah, 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 tables, memorizing 6 of them, 10 of them, 8 obligations, 7 sunan. This had to come afterwards when the people started to lose touch with the core and with the pure kind of understanding. They needed it easier, easily kind of laid out. And so this text is a classic example of that. Not only will Imam al-Hajjawi alayhi rahmatullah, not only when he divide these different things into categories and say these are obligations and these are sunan and these are like that, but he also even say there are 6, like that, and then tell you the 6 as well. So really, really kind of basic kind of presentation of the fiqh, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as we don't start to then take the categories as something like wahi, like revelation, that the word is something which is Quranic. You can't change the phrase, you can't change the wording. Of course you can. These are the words of the fuqaha. In fact, if you want me to say, I'll throw away the words of arkan and furud straight away. I'll make my own category. I'll say the most important things in the wudu, and that's absolutely fine. Because the intention is for me to make you understand what the key aspects are, not for me to make you learn that the word is arkan or rukn or wajibat or furud or whatever. These are phrases which help the madhahib try to get a theory across or an idea across. Very important to remember that from the beginning. And this is linked into another very important principle which I often focus on in the fiqh classes, and I think probably will have mentioned here as well in LP. And that is that not only the names of categories and the types of categories, but also numbers. When a scholar says that the obligations are 6 is another man's 5 and another scholar's 7. Okay? Because ultimately it's me looking at something and seeing them as 6, whereas another man will say, well, you know what it is, to be honest, 1 or 2 could be separated, so let's make it 7. Alright? Or sorry, 1 could be to put into 2 categories, 1A and 1B. So let's just make it 1, 2, and then we'll just increase the categories to 7. So that's another thing, to never get too caught up on numbers. Okay, that's very, very important. When someone says there's 6 obligations, and there are only 6 obligations, another guy comes across and says there's 4 obligations. It's possible, number one, that his 4 obligations are the same as your 6, but just bunched up. It's also quite possible that he understands the issue differently, and he doesn't consider the 2 of your obligations to be obligations. Rather, he considers those 2 to be sunnah. Likewise, another point of note when it comes to study fiqh and deen, this is now more a deeni issue, is when the scholars try to explain a point to the lay people. It's like when you see the Jum'ah khutbah. Nowadays there's a big push upon the Jum'ah khutbah to be more than a khatib, but to be a speaker. Not to be a khatib. That's because people, to be honest, if you want me to be honest, people have become very, very overly critical when it comes to many aspects of our deen. One of the things that I find very strange is this approach to the Jum'ah khutbah. The Jum'ah khutbah is very highly criticized if it's not mentioning affairs of the Muslims around the world, if it's not mentioning politics and not mentioning this, not mentioning that, and talking about societal problems and blah 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 blah. And I want you to know that the Jum'ah khutbah is not some kind of soapbox, and the Jum'ah khutbah is not some kind of political party broadcast either. The Jum'ah khutbah is not to tell the people what they know quicker than the khatib knows. The khatib might be preparing his Jum'ah khutbah the night before. The musalli who's coming in, and he's already hearing on the radio the latest updates and the news on his phone, and he's getting text messages. He's more knowledgeable than the khatib. The khatib is not someone to say that there's a war in Syria and you should make dua for the people. We know that any Muslim is under any kind of stress needs dua, and we know the movements of the war and so on and so forth. Yani that's not the function of the Jum'ah khutbah. The Jum'ah khutbah can be used to, in our country, in the non-Muslim lands, I get it, okay? In the non-Muslim lands, where Muslims are not getting a regular kind of understanding of religion, then you might want to mention 1 or 2 things as an announcement. These things can be used as an announcement after the salah, after the khutbah is finished, for example, that there's going to be 1 or 2 announcements if you don't mind, or even at the end of one of the parts of the khutbah, 1 or 2 parts, because the khutbah itself has one function alone, and that is to remind the people of Allah and His Messenger. It's meant to soften people's hearts. It's an idea that a person has gone a whole week. That's why every ahadith upon each hadith which talks about the importance of the Jum'ah khutbah is always focusing very, very strictly upon the one who misses it. Yani that the one who, and talking about what happens, the heart will become blocked. It's very interesting. That one who misses is 1 is disaster, 2 disaster. The third time, khalas, the heart becomes blocked. So the idea is that it's meant to be softening hearts. The idea, especially in this country, so now, if people are going to start saying, no, but you don't understand, it's a non-Muslim country and we need to inform people, okay, then let's play that game then. Let's use this country. Especially then in this country, most Muslims don't even set foot into a mosque except on a Friday. They don't even know what a masjid is except on a Friday at lunchtime. And in fact, they don't even know that masjid actually. It's not even their local masjid most of the time. It's whatever is convenient to them from their workplace. So it's just a place for me to go and do my obligation. At that moment, the khatib's responsibility is to remind them who their Lord is, to remind them what the messenger told them, to remind them about what Allah has said to them. And that's why if you understood this, if you truly understood the fuqaha, how they understand this deen, the Prophet ﷺ said it is a sign of a person's knowledge. Check this. It's a sign of a person's knowledge in what he does with the Jum'ah khutbah and the prayer. The one who shortens the khutbah and increases the prayer is the one who understands. The one who elongates the khutbah, speaks for an hour, kills everyone there, sends everyone to sleep. And then he stands up and says, Wal Asr and Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and out the door. Lame recitation, lame, quick, bang, 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 bang. This is a disaster. And it's the other way around. It's a 5-10 minute reminder. Bang, get out there, say it, this is what Allah says, this is Jannah, this is what we're aiming for, this is the fire, this is what you need to protect yourself for, wake up, and then get into the qira'ah. You would recite Munafiqun, recite Al-Qaf, recite Al-Ghashiyah, Al-A'la, slowly, beautifully, nicely, soften the people's hearts. Remind them, and that's where the people realize, wow, you know what, it's been a week I haven't heard this kind of stuff, man. People feel softened, they feel, Wallah, I wish I read Quran more, Wallah, I wish I read Salah more, I wish that I was closer to the masjid. That's the function of the khutbah. Not to be a political lesson or whatever, whatnot. And we understand the theory. We understand that they'll say, okay, yes, we also get it. We do want to give lessons like this now where we teach them the deen. But they don't come. Look how many people come to a gathering of knowledge and we've got such masses. But that's not separate. That's not sacrificed. That's not a logical argument. That just because of the issue of numbers, we will sacrifice the full lot, the masses, because we are unable to make our dawah entertaining enough, or we're not able to make it important enough or interesting enough to get them. So you know what, we're going to teach them their religion in a khutbah. It's not a teaching lesson. It's not a teaching lesson. We don't know of the Prophet ﷺ teaching the people in this manner. And when anything is narrated in this manner, it's narrated in a minority fashion. So the point I was making is that the Jummah khutbah has now become like they're trying to refine it so much so that they want to apply speaker tactics to it. That person should speak like this, and maybe consider PowerPoints and consider this, and the person should have a very structured form, and he should whatever. I'm saying that anything which affirms the Sunnah, that's great. Anything which is just trying to be stylish and modern, then no thanks. So you often see, for example, that the khatib will say, there are 6 points I want to go through in this khutbah, or there are 10 points I want to go through in this khutbah, and he writes them all down, and then at the very end, then he will repeat in an abbreviated form those 10 points in a 30-second summary, which is a clever speaking tool we know that to give the people something to take away, a call to action, standard principles that speakers are told to use. I'm saying that some of these people then turn those 10 points and 3 points and say to the person listening, don't you ever forget these 3 points. These 3 points are the most important 3 points that you will take away in your life. And this is the 4 types of heart that you've learned in this khutbah. The heart can get into 4 kind of states. And my brothers and sisters, this was about taqwa. Don't forget, there are 3 levels of taqwa. You take that away from me or whatever. And so this is just a speaking tool. One man's 3 types of taqwa is another person's 10 types of taqwa. And one person's explanation of 4 types of heart is another person's 10 types of heart. So what's important for the user? The user, he doesn't understand anything, let him do what he wants. But for the student of knowledge, what is important to understand is never to take the human defined parameters or values of 3 types of this, 6 types of that, as anything other than just that speaker's way of organizing. Just like this speaker's way of organizing. If you have that kind of critical attitude to your sharia, your fiqh, you'll go far. You'll have a deep understanding of the system. You'll be able to develop your own. You'll be able to be not so restricted by other people's statements. So I hope that that's a useful primer to understanding the principles of categorization and numbering and so on. So Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, he goes that sometimes we use fard, sometimes we do arkan, sometimes they're interchangeable. He goes, here in this case, do you know why we know that the furud here are arkan? Why that is? Because anna hadhihi al-furud, okay, because when we look at these obligations that have been mentioned, you can see them talking about the essence of the wudu, mahiyatul wudu. They're talking about the essence of the wudu. وَكُلُّ أَقْوَالٍ أَوْ أَفْعَالٍ, every single statement and action which describes the essence of something, the essence of an act of worship, then it is a rukn, it is a pillar. Any single action or statement which describes the essence of an act of ibadah, it by its very nature is a rukn. It's a pillar of that action. So that's good. So that's what arkan normally are. Now, if we see that the fard is describing the essence of the act, then we can say, you know what? The obligation, the fard here is the arkan. Same thing. Okay, so that's good. All right. So Sheikh says, and I mentioned that the word wudu, it has a linguistic, the word wudu in its linguistic sense comes from wada'a, which is brilliance and glowing and radiant, okay? And it also refers to cleanliness and beauty. These are the kind of words you're combining to get the meaning, to get the understanding of what wudu actually means. Wada'a meaning this dazzling brightness, and nadhafa meaning cleanliness and purity, and al-husn meaning radiance and beauty and so on. You're combining all of that. As for shar'an, meaning technically speaking, in the sharia, what is wudu? التعبد لله عز وجل بغسل الأعضاء الأربعة على صفة مخصوصة. You will find that, of course, in the notes, inshallah, in Arabic and in English. Basically, the translation of it is the worship of Allah Almighty and exalted, mighty and exalted, the worship of Allah mighty and exalted, by washing the four limbs in a specified manner. Okay? It is the worship of Allah mighty and exalted by the washing of the four limbs in ala sifatin makhsusa, in a specified manner. Okay? In a specified manner. And that's, of course, a legal statement. It requires to try and cover in as many short words as possible, as wide a aspect that covers everything. Shaykh Uthaymeen starts straight away. He goes, you know what? What if someone says, actually, this is not correct? Because when you said that by washing of the four limbs, we know that the head is not washed. The head is wiped. So it's not washed, it's wiped. So Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, he says that these kind of statements are not always 100% exactly going to detail each part. So as long as he goes, a taghrib meaning that as long as we are able to describe most of it in some kind of manner, that's fine. So he goes, of course, the head is not washed, but most of the limbs are washed. And so we apply the fact that because we're washing most of the limbs, we'll use the word washing in the definition. And he goes, this is something which is permissible, that's no problem. And that's another example, by the way. Shaykh Uthaymeen's definition is very different to other scholars' definition. But that's fine, because everyone's defining something in a very specific way. Some people don't care about trying to get it out as a Twitter kind of update, right? We're reducing it for stylish reasons to 140 characters. Some people just want to go out there and write what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a page, we'll define it as a page. So there are different kind of ways to describe it. Okay then. So Sheikh then says, all right, so our author, he starts off by saying the furuduhu sittatun, okay, that the obligations are 6. And first of all, when we say 6, how do we know? This is based upon tatabbu'. This word is very important. Tatabbu' means tatabbu' means by deep analysis and deriving. That's what tatabbu' means, by following the evidences, looking at them and counting them and analyzing them, and then coming to that conclusion that yes, there's 6. There's no wahy. When he says by tatabbu', it wasn't that Allah revealed and said that there are 6. This is the reason why he mentions this point. And I really liked what Sheikh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shanqiti he said that, this is something which is very common, and it goes back now to the way that the teachers teach. And actually this is a common technique. It's the same technique we talked about just a minute ago, about how the speaker summarizes what he's going to be speaking about, and then he goes and then he describes it. So he gives a very broad picture, very broad picture right at the beginning, and then goes into the detail. He goes, the scholars often call this al-ijmal qabl al-bayan wa tafsil. He goes basically giving the full story in a nutshell, in a snap kind of way, and then going into a detailed explanation. So basically the obligations are 6. Okay, you got that? 6. You ready? Oh, here we go. 1, 2. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? This is what he's saying. He goes, what's interesting, he goes, this is the way of the Quran. He goes, this is the way of the Quran. He goes, when you look at the way that some of the scholars do this, they are following only what Allah has done in the Quran. But for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-Haqqa mal-Haqqa wa ma adraka mal-Haqqa. This huge, al-Haqqa, this calamity, this disaster, this disaster, and what's going to make you know is the disaster. And then again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will now explain it in detail. Al-Qari'ah, mal-Qari'ah, wa ma adraka mal-Qari'ah. And then that day, that this will happen, and then that will happen, and so on and so forth. So this is a style where the subject is presented in its entirety, and then the detail then is explained afterwards. So he goes, this is one of the this is one of the ways of language. This is the way of, it's something which also brings the attention of the listener as well. Okay, so the first one is the washing of the face. The washing of the face. Now the word ghasl, okay, ghaslul wajh, the washing. Remember, there's a difference, we haven't come to that section yet, between ghasala means to wash, ghasl is wash, ghusl is with the dhamma, pesh, ghusl. That ghusl is the, what's that? That's a bath, exactly, it's the complete wash, yes? Whereas ghasl actually means just the process of washing. Now, Shaykh Uthaymeen says is that it's very important straight away that by the author specifying the word ghasl, that we're not talking about now wiping. And so our focus is very, very much on actual wiping. Therefore, if someone was to get their hand, wet their hand, okay, and then shake the water off, wet hand now, and then go and then wipe his face with it like this, then this would not be washing the face. Or he was to wipe his hand, or wet his hand, and then wipe his arm, okay, then this would not fulfill the obligation. Because to fulfill the obligation is هو صب الماء على الشيء وإسالته عليه. It is the pouring of water of something and the water running along it. So there has to be actual running water on that surface. Water has to actually move. It doesn't matter if that water moves itself or whether it moves via your hand's action, but there has to be running water moving across it. It's not your skin which is whatever that is, the thing making the contact. It is the water itself. The water has to physically wash it. So it is quite fine after the water has been poured then to use your hand in a wiping surface, but then that's part and parcel of the washing. When you, for example, get water, if you had on one hand and you put it over your face and it's pouring now, and now you wash it, that's still washing. But if you were to just get a hand and just go like that, that would be unacceptable. So there has to, it's not just wet hands and then go like that. It's hands, water, and then even if it's a small amount, it's released, and then we allow it to now run, and then you're doing your washing process. Okay, and Sheikh they basically said linguistically it has always meant water which is moving and running. So he goes that Sheikh says that the ghusl is not achieved unless the water actually touches the skin. The water touches the skin and actually runs along it. Okay, actually runs along it, and this is basically the difference between the wetting via a wipe, okay, and washing. Because if you were to do this, what you would do is you would just wet the skin, but it's not running along the actual, it's not running. I'm not sure. Was this you being incredibly generous, or is that you want me to try and show you everyone how to do ghusl? I don't know, yeah. Trying to get me back here for zakah and warehouses and bismillah, ma adri ish. What if I use you as an example? Maybe. No? No? You know when a man closes his eyes, please don't do this to me, please. Bobby J's not here either. We use Bobby J. Malaysian skin. Yeah, we know it's Malaysian skin. No hair, nowhere, anywhere. Water will run off it. Very nice. Should we use you as an example? No? Okay then. Don't laugh next time. Don't make me late next time, okay? I don't get mad. I get even, huh? Sheikh Wali's famous words. Epic fail of words. I'll beat him like about 10-3 or something. Anyway, so okay, good. So that's the import of the word al-ghasl, meaning the washing. So the water has to actually physically have some kind of movement or whatever on the skin. The second point is to focus on the word wajh. We already spoke about that in detail before. The word wajh means facing. So everything which is facing is considered the wajh. So the actual definition of the actual parameters of the face will be of the top of the forehead until the bottom of the beard. Okay, until the bottom of the beard. If you have a beard, actually I think here he means the jawbone. Actually, I beg your pardon, not the beard. The jawbone. So from the head, from the top of the head until the jawbones. Okay, meaning like that. Okay, that part, whatever that is, jawbone, isn't it? I guess, yeah. So that part, because underneath, then it goes to whatever is underneath. The neck is the top of the. What's it called when the neck?
Bottom border of the mandible.
Mandible.
The bottom border of the mandible.
Mandible is the submandibular. Mandible is here.
Like do it again, Shaz. Come on, yeah. You need a good couple of glory moments. Yalla, go on. Come on, jawbone. Why don't you keep it in simple language that we all understand? Mandible, submandible, bakwas mandible. three quarter, yani self-infused mandible.
So the mandible comes from behind the ear here, runs round the corner.
This?
Yeah, you see the angle of it there, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. And then round the corner down to bottom.
That's the bone?
Yeah, that's the below border.
The below border of the mandible?
Yeah, all the way around.
So it's not the mandible then. Anything which is underneath is not the issue. That's why they said the liha. A liha is the jawbone. The word lihya is called beard in Arabic because it's what grows on the jawbone.
So where's the point? Is it here or is it here?
It's everything which is facing.
So yeah, so it's the bottom border of the mandible facing, which is here.
Oh, you see that black? It's the bottom border of the mandible facing. Have you seen it clearly? You know, that's why you can't be a doctor then. They stay black every second. Okay then. So anyway, I think you get the point. From the top of the head until from top of the forehead, beg your pardon, until the jawbone, okay, and that means including the jawbone, and then from ear to ear, okay, from widthwise, ardan min al-udhun ila al-udhun, meaning from ear to ear. So this would be all included. Okay, so like this. This whole part. Okay? And if you have the beard, we've already covered that, yes? For the beard, you have to also comb it through, and it needs to be wetted, and the bottoms of the beard, because that is what's facing. Yes, we talked about that. And he goes, some people said that the top of the forehead is otherwise called the hairline. The hairline, right? The hairline, and he goes that, and that's according to the normal vernacular, is called the hairline.
So it's a bit prejudice, isn't it?
It's prejudice to bald people, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. The hairline could be all
That's what.
hairline
Yeah.
for some people could be all the way back here, isn't it?
Maybe. We don't talk about you, Shaz, on the phone. The thing is, I don't think it's fair to do that, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. He wants to, and he wants to talk about next sales and things like that. Did you go, Shaz, this year or what?
No, I was with you. You were the one saying.
I begged the guy.
He was begging me to go.
I said to him, okay, let's go, man. We're around the corner. We're in Reading. Let's go to London. Hit the Bond Street next sale. He wasn't interested yet at all. He was saying, no, I'm a big student now, and I go and I work really hard, write lots of notes, and I said, oh, chat, so, and that's why actually what Sheikh says is that what people say, al-mu'tad, this is the response to all the bald folks, huh? شعر الرأس المعتاد, meaning a normal head. Not pack heads, yeah? So a normal head. So basically the hair from a normal hair, meaning a head with hair, non-balding, is referring to the top part. Reality speaking, actually the original definition is more accurate, meaning the top of the forehead, because there's obviously a part somewhere, alright, where it now doesn't become facing, but becomes more facing up. Okay, and anything which is up doesn't have al-muwajaha. Muwajaha means whatever is facing. So whatever point we decide that it's now equidistant or the angle suddenly becomes more that way than it comes that way, so I guess you have this, and then I think that's acceptable. Once it gets to that part, well, that's not really facing. That's the way they understand it. So the washing is happening from that top kind of part, and that normally in a normative scenario is referring to the hairline, all right, in a normal scenario. And this of course is based upon the ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 6, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا كُنْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. O you who believe, this entire obligation, this entire discussion, okay, it is all based up this, it is considered an obligation because of the verse that, O you who believe, when you stand for prayer, then before you stand for prayer, wash your faces. Okay, and it's said in an obligatory fashion. And what's important, again, to remind ourselves from our usul al-fiqh, فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. فَاغْسِلُوا is a fi'l amr. It is a command. And the qaida in usul, the principle in the principles of usul al-fiqh, أن الأمر يدل على الوجوب إلا إذا صرفه الصارف. That the command indicates obligation unless something comes along and takes it away, takes it down from being an obligation. So for example, what would something like that be? What would a sarif be? What would be something that could knock something down from obligation? Common sense. Showing what? Give me a practical example. Easy, keep it simple. Remember, when you have a question, always answer the simple one.
The washing of the feet, there's two...
No. Simple, keep it simple. If the ayah says, wash your faces, and we say, okay, that's an obligation because a command indicates obligation until something suggests elsewise. The Prophet ﷺ might come and make wudu and he doesn't wash his face. That's it. That would be an example. I'm not saying a real example. I'm just meaning this is one way. If the Prophet ﷺ did wudu and didn't wash his face, and that happens in the presence of the fact that there's a verse which clearly says you must wash your face, we immediately know that the must can only be a command to recommendation and cannot be a command to obligation. Does that make sense? Alright, and this is usul al-fiqh. Every single time we see a command, it indicates obligation until we find a qarina, meaning a supplementary evidence or secondary evidence which knocks it down, which suggests to us, well, hold on, if that's the case, why didn't the Prophet then do that? Or why in the other ayah does the same actions of wudu are mentioned, but then the face is not mentioned, for example. Yeah, so this is how it would work in principle. Okay, good. Then the Sheikh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shanqiti, he says there are a number of ahadith which emphasize this obligation. A number of ahadith which emphasize this obligation, because the Prophet ﷺ used to wash his face when he used to make wudu, and there is not a single authentic hadith that shows that he ever left washing the face in wudu. Not a single authentic hadith in existence that shows the Prophet ﷺ leaving the face in washing the wudu. Okay, and he goes, for example, and we can take from them the most authentic. We can take some from the most authentic of the hadith in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, in the Sahihain, on the authority of Himran, the freed slave of Uthman, Amir al-Mu'mineen Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu. He said that the Prophet ﷺ asked for his wudu. Have we covered that? Tahur and tuhur. Who remembers the notes from first year? What is tuhur and what is tahur? I'm sure we did that. And we did, absolutely. When you have a dhamma on the first letter of the word and you have a fatha on the first letter of the word.
Tuhur means purify.
Which word?
Tuhur.
Tuhur, good. Yep. Tuhur means to purify. What does tahur with a fatha on the ta mean?
Cleanse.
Nope.
Purifying?
Nope. Wudu, what is wudu with a dhamma? Wudu. The action. Okay, good. It means the action of the ritual of the ritual ablution. What do you think wudu means? No. Correct. It is the water which you use to do the act with. I'm sure we covered this in series 1, in year 1, that tahur refers to the water. In fact, subhanAllah, forget about thingy 1. We covered it 2 weeks ago. When I said, why is it that we were talking about 2 weeks ago, we were talking about washing we were talking about getting the manner of washing the face. The manner of washing the face with respect to the beard. Remember? I said there's 3 types. There's either getting the water to the skin. That's an obligation in... When is that an obligation? When you have a short beard. When you have a short beard, then the way that we wash the beard, when we wash the face, is that the water has to not only be washing the face, but washing all the way to the hair underneath the beard. And that's an obligation. We said the second scenario is... The second way with respect to the beard? No. Exactly, when you have a thick beard. What did we say? What happens when you have a thick beard? Why? What's correct? So is it an obligation to wet the skin? No, we said it's an obligation only to wet the skin which has not got the beard, and then the parts which has the beard, that skin underneath that beard does not need to be washed. But in that case, that's when you need to comb and have the water through. I said that was the second type of washing of the face with respect to a beard. Then I said a third case. My God, you bunch of packs. Unbelievable. Deserve beats, I swear. Oh my God. Don't revise the notes at all. Please tell me if someone online is saving our bestie. Go on. I know someone online will. Yes, they have. Guaranteed. 100%. Yes. Nope. I gave a third example, and I used the third example of doing wudu or purifying yourself with respect to the face with a beard is when you are using the tahur. My God, I feel like crying. And I used that word tahur, and I even said, do you know why he used the word tahur? And you lot said no. And I said, okay, because this and this. And then I don't, man. You ate that much on Christmas, yani, is that what it is? Oh my days. I know someone has saved me online, Abu Dhar.
One guy says the third one is tayammum.
Thank you. Yeah, that guy, yeah, is the only one who's got his brain open at the moment, okay? I said that the third scenario... Huh?
Then he follows it up with saying you wipe it with mud.
Yes, he's right. He's right. I said the third example we used is when a person is making tayammum. Okay? Right? Actually, the exact wording, if you go back to your notes, is basically how do you wash your face in the three types of manner when you're using tahur. That's how the question was phrased. Tahur. And basically we said, well, 2 times it's going to be with water. The first time is going to be, you're going to wash your face both times. In the first case, your beard is going to be thin, you have to wash the skin underneath it. In the second case, your beard is going to be thick, so therefore you're not going to wash the skin underneath it, you're just going to run your fingers through. The third time, the tahur is not even going to be water, it's going to be dust. And that dust, in that case, you're just going to get the dust on your hands, and you're just going to wipe your face. It's not about going through the beard, not about going to the skin, it's not about washing, it's just a wipe of the face, and that's it. And I said that at the beginning, I said the Shaykh, he used the word tahur to give a clue that the 3 things he's going to mention is not just going to be water. Oh my God. If Shaykh Kehlan was here, you know what he'd say? He goes, where's the window so I can jump out? He'd start looking for the window, you know that? That's what he would do. So, he's here soon, by the way. Omar, what's the date? Thursday? Friday. No, I think Thursday. When's the kids coming back? Tomorrow, day after tomorrow. I think he comes like 3-4 days after. So tahur means that which produces or does the tuhur. And the wudu is that which does the wudu. Okay? We actually covered this in the very early sessions of last year as well. So that's 2 times covered. And this is the 3rd time covering it. Anyway, right. Where are we, guys? I've got no idea. So, أنه دعا بوضوء. Sayyidina Uthman said the Prophet ﷺ asked for wudu to be brought to him, meaning his water for his wudu. And then فَأَكْفَ عَلَى كَفَّيْهِ, and then it was poured upon to his hands, and he washed them 3 times. And then he did madmada wastanshaqa thalathan, and so he asked for it to be poured into his hand, and then he gargled and he spat it out, and then he rubbed it into his nose, and then out of his nose. He did that 3 times. ثُمَّ غَسَلَ وَجْهَهُ, and then he washed his face. He washed his face. And this is the most authentic hadith. This is called the hadith of Uthman, by the way. All right, the hadith of Uthman is like known. The hadith of Uthman, right? That's the like when we say the hadith of Umar in Niyyah is in al bin Niyyat. Yeah. So in wudu it's called the hadith of Uthman. It's the one which establishes the details of wudu in perfect description. And then we have the hadith of Abdullah bin Zayd, which is also narrated in the Sahihain, the 2 Sahih, and the hadith of Ali ibn Abi Talib, which has been narrated in the Sunans, in the 4 Sunans, which also all of them they describe the wudu, the ritual ablution of the Prophet ﷺ, and that he washed his face therein. Therefore, the scholars have agreed, may Allah have mercy upon all of them, that to wash the face is from the key obligation of the obligations of the wudu. Okay? And so if a person ever was to make wudu and he did not wash his face, then by consensus, ijma' al-ulama, he has not done wudu, his wudu is invalid. The next statement is then وَالْفَمُ وَالْأَنْفُ مِنْهُ, that the mouth and the nose are from the face, part of the face. Okay, and this is the position of the Hanbali madhab official. And Shaykh Uthaymeen alayhi rahmatullah, he says, yep, meaning from the face, and this is because they are, he goes, because the face, because the mouth and the nose are where? But on the face. And because they're on the face, then they are to be counted as the face. This is what Shaykh Uthaymeen says. And so based upon this, then madmada and istinshaq, meaning the rinsing of the mouth and the cleaning of the nose, is from the obligations of wudu. He goes, but they're not separate aspects. They're not separate, okay? They're not separate from the face itself. And even if this is he goes, even though this is not absolutely, when you think of the nose, you don't think of the face, but they're pretty much the same thing. It's like if you were to hit someone on the nose, you would say you hit him on the face. You understand what I'm trying to say? He goes, it's like the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, which has been narrated in Bukhari. He said that أمرت أن أسجد على سبعة أعظم على الجبهة وأشار بيده على أنفه. Okay, he said that I was commanded to prostrate on the 7 bones, you can say. All right, I was commanded to prostrate on the 7 bones. That's referring to the knees and the toes and the hands and whatever, and my forehead. And he pointed to his nose. Okay, so pointed to his nose and saying that, and my forehead. So it's talking about the forehead, meaning that's going to have to be prostrating. But pointing to his nose is meaning that it's like the same thing, even if it's not the same. Now, we're going to come back to this later, okay? Because Shaykh Uthaymeen himself, he has his own specific position. But I want to go into this issue in detail. Shaykh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shanqiti, he is now going to go into this. He says, listen, he says that the reason that people say that this is from the face is because it's included in the boundaries of the face, okay? And of course, if you say that the nose and the mouth are part of the face, then you say that therefore to wash the nose and the mouth, it becomes an absolute obligation. And this position, that the washing of the nose and the mouth is an obligation, is only one of the statements of the scholars. Let's look at these statements of the scholars. He goes, the first position is that it is not from the nose, it's not from the face, and therefore to wash the nose and the mouth is a sunnah. This is the position of the Hanafi school, the Maliki school, the Shafi'i school, yarhamukallah, and one narration from Imam Ahmed. So it's the position of the Hanafis, the Malikis, the Shafi'is, and one narration from Imam Ahmed. So that's a lot of people there, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the mass majority consider the washing of the mouth and the nose to be a sunnah. He goes, the second opinion is that they are part of the face, okay, but only the insides. Only the insides are considered from the face. And this is the position of the Zahiri, the literalists. No, the inside. You'll see. You'll see in a minute. What I mean is that when you wash the face, you're going to wash the nose anyway. Yeah. When we're talking about, sorry, let me start again. Just so that's a good point that you raised that question. When you wash the face, okay, you are going to wash the lips, aren't you? You can't wash the face without washing the lips because they're outside. When you wash the face, you're going to wash your nose or every aspect, aren't you? Because it's just there, isn't it? But when you wash the face, you're not going to wash inside your mouth, are you? And it's like, Are you one of these people who open up? Yeah, Bobby J's not here, man. I gotta pick on someone, man. Okay. So unless someone's opening his mouth when he's washing his face, then it's something different. Yeah, but normal insan, yeah, they don't do that. Yeah, okay. Normal person when he's washing his face, he keeps his mouth closed, right? But I'm saying that it's quite possible to wash the face without washing the inside of the nose. It's a whole separate action, isn't it? And to wash inside the mouth is a whole separate action. So that's the point. That's the point. In the position of Imam al-Hajjawi and the position of Hanbali madhab, because it's on the face, then inside is also included. Okay? Just as like, for example, when we go into a lot more detail, for example, as part of washing the face, it also means to clean the insides of the eyes. You know, to clean the dirt from inside the eyes as well. This is also considered to be part of the face. And so, not to the extent that you have to now start doing, you know, each time, yeah, because that will get crazy. Do you understand what I'm saying? But this is what needs to be defined. Do you need to do like a full eye bath or whatever, or is it whatever water hits it in a natural way? But this is definitely a physical action, and so on, and that's included. But what about internally inside the nose? So we said that the mass majority of the scholars, they consider that this is a sunnah. This is not part of washing the face. It's not included in the face. The Zahiriyya said that actually the internal parts of the nose and the mouth are part of the face. Okay, which is basically what this the madhab here is saying, meaning it's the basic position here. And so therefore, and it's a narration from Imam Ahmed, this one. Okay, so that's the second opinion. The third opinion is that only the inside of the nose is from the face, and the inside of the mouth is a whole separate part. So the inside of the mouth is not included. Okay, or you can word it a different way. The only obligation is to clean the nose, not to gargle. That's another way of looking at it. And this is another riwayah, narration from Imam Ahmed, and it is also the position of some of the people of some of the Ahlul Hadith. It's also the position of some of the people of Hadith. And he says, in my opinion, and Allah knows best, he goes, in my opinion, and this is Shaykh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shanqiti's position, he says that the statement that they are not part of the face is the more accurate statement, and therefore I do not consider it an obligation to wash the mouth and the nose in wudu. I do not consider it to be an obligation. Okay, this is the position of Shaykh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shanqiti, and this is also my personal position as well. Okay, this is also my personal position as well, that it is not from the obligations. And as far as I remember, because we did wudu many years ago, this is also the position of Shaykh Ihlan as well. Okay, but I can confirm that. But anyway, regardless, this is my position as well.
Not washing the inside of the nose and the mouth.
Correct.
Sunnah.
It's a sunnah, therefore. So therefore, the washing of the inside of the nose, meaning istinshaq, and the madmada, which is the washing and the circulating and the gargling of the water inside the mouth, this is from sunan al-wudu and not from its obligations. Okay? And he goes, and Shaykh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shanqiti says, and my evidences for that are basically the number one. Because of the way that because of the indication, dilalat al-kitab, the dilala means what the Quran indicates. What does the Quran indicate? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha qumtum ila salati faghsilu wujuhakum. And so our indication from the ayah is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated the washing of the face, and the face, in linguistically speaking, is that which faces. Okay? And that is what is outside of the face, not the internal aspects of the face. And the internal aspects of the face would be the inside of the nose and the mouth. And that doesn't face anything. That's basically inside. Is that clear? And you can see, in quite honest fairness, that's a good argument. That's a linguistic argument, isn't it? And you could also see the other side of the argument, that actually, you're right, it's not maybe facing outwards, but it's part of the part which is facing outwards, therefore it should be included. Which is of course what they're saying, what the Zahiriyya and this other riwayah from Imam Ahmed. Okay? And he goes that the Arabic language the Arabic language, and when a person is speaking in Arabic, and the nature of the Arab is that when he is talking about the reality of the face, he's not talking about the inside of the nose and the inside of the mouth, but he's talking about the outside aspects of the face. And the Quran has been revealed in this Arabic language, and the Arabic language only explains that which is in the Quran. So he goes, the reality of the Arabic language is that when you say the face, you're not talking about the inside aspects. He goes, and also he goes, the Sunnah also emphasizes this point, such as the hadith of Rifa'a ibn Rafi', who on the authority of, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to the one who made mistakes in his prayer. We're talking about the hadith of now the person, you know, the famous hadith when the Prophet ﷺ was sitting in the masjid, and then he came into the masjid, and then he did 2 rak'ah, and then he went to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Assalamu alaikum. Prophet said, Wa alaikum salam, go back and pray because you've not prayed. And he kept making this mistake. He was basically rushing the prayer. He wasn't praying properly. The Prophet, in the same hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, and this has been narrated by Imam al-Nasa'i and Tirmidhi, and it's an acceptable hadith, meaning it's a Hasan hadith, inshaAllah. He said to this person, he said, make wudu like Allah has commanded you. Make wudu like Allah has commanded you. Tawadda kama amarak Allah. Make wudu like Allah has commanded you. Meaning an indication that whatever Allah has said in that ayah, that's what it's about. And therefore we're going back now to the issue of the face, wujuhakum, and it's not indicating this detailed aspects of internally into the nostrils and so on. Yani basically Shaykh Uthaymeen is saying that, in other words, he said to him, read the book of Allah, and whatever it says in Ayat al-Ma'idah, in the ayah in Surah al-Ma'idah, then just do that and khalas. Okay, so basically what this person did is that he returned him back to the obvious aspect of the ayah, and the obvious aspects of the ayah refer to the outside, the apparent portions of the face. Okay, the second point is that the actions and the narrations that all mention the continual act of gargling and cleaning of the nose of the Prophet ﷺ, we will say that all of that, all the commands, you know, the Prophet ﷺ said, clean your nose. The Prophet ﷺ said, wash your mouth. Every single one of those commands are not indicating an obligation, but they're indicating nadab or istihbab, meaning a recommendation. And the proof of that is the ayah. So reverse it the other way around. Remember what I said to you, that when you command something, it is an obligation until something turns it away. So the commands to wash the nose, wash the mouth, they were obligations until we read the ayah and it says wujuhakum faghsilu wujuhakum, wash your faces. So therefore the wash your faces is a proof actually that the commands to wash the nose and the mouth were only for a recommendation. They've been brought down. The actual original issue is to wash the obvious parts of the face. So therefore, as far as I am concerned, then that is the point. That is the evidence for why it is not an obligation, and that's why the majority of the scholars followed it. And he just finishes off, and would finish with this as well. He said that what if someone says, how comes the Prophet ﷺ never ever stopped doing the madmada and al-istinshaq, yani the dawam, the continuous action of his. And Sheikh Muhammad Mukhtar Shanqiti, he says that the Prophet ﷺ and his continual doing of these sunan is from the bab of ta'lim. This is from his way of educating the people, not from the manner of obligating upon people. Laysa min bab al-ilzam. So him doing it. So there's two types of Prophet ﷺ doing two things all the time. Okay, one is to obligate something upon the people and to indicate its obligation. Two, to teach people that it should be done all the time. There's a difference between the two. Okay, for example, the Prophet ﷺ, as far as we know, he never left the 2 rak'ah of Fajr, but no one has said it's an obligation, or the majority of the scholars don't say it's an obligation. Like this example, he goes. I'll give you an easy example. Do you not see? Sheikh Muhammad Mukhtar Shanqiti says, Do you not see that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, through when you take all of the narrations into account, you do not see that he ever made wudu. He never made wudu except that he would wash his hands before he would make wudu. He would wash his hands before he would make wudu. Every single narration which you collect will show you that the Prophet ﷺ washed his hands before he made wudu. As for those people who say that it's obligatory to wash the nose and the mouth, those same people, they submit to the fact that washing of the hands is a sunnah. It's a sunnah. Okay? For the one who, what? Not nearly. You got the right subject but the wrong ruling. For the person who wakes up and he doesn't know where his hand is, it's a wajib. Remember we talked about that, isn't it? That is an obligation for the one who wakes up thinking. But the one who doesn't wake up from such a sleep, it's a sunnah. Yes? So the one who doesn't wake up from a sleep which is, he doesn't know what's going on, it's such a deep sleep at night time, blah blah blah. That person, right? Is there any of these scholars that said it's an obligation to wash the hands? The answer is no. So all of them, despite the Prophet ﷺ doing it every single time, none of them said it's an obligation upon that person. Instead they said it is recommendation and not obligation. Therefore they themselves are a proof that al-mudawama, that continuity, does not always indicate obligation. Sometimes it means obligation, sometimes it's ghayr wajib. So it's not possible to say that it's not possible to basically say that just because something is continuous, it becomes obligatory. And this is an example in the wudu. And that's basically what we're talking about. That's our conclusion. Okay, let's take a couple of questions. Yeah. And online if there's some questions. Yeah.
Sheikh Uthaymeen's opinion is?
We're going to come to that.
Different, just
No.
So on that last point then, is it not the case that the Prophet ﷺ, one of the ways in which he differentiated between obligation and sunnah was to leave the act?
Good. Yes, that is the most easiest and most common way of us indicating the difference between an obligation and sunnah. His leaving of an obligatory act, which basically makes it clear. Like Taraweeh, like fasting during the rest of the year, like the tahajjud, for example, in certain times and cases. Well, that's not a good example, actually, take that way. You're right. Basically, that is the basic principle. The Prophet ﷺ leaving an action indicates that it's a sunnah, but not exclusively. And this is the point. And he says that actually no scholar differs over this. And he gave the example. He goes, even the people who are saying that you have to wash the nose, okay, because the Prophet ﷺ did it all the time. Well, actually, if you ask them, what about washing the hands? Is that obligatory as well? Well, they themselves will say to you, no, it's not, even though he always used to do it. They will only say, yes, it's obligatory if he wakes up from the night time. Okay, what if he doesn't wake up from the night time? What if he just comes in from work? Does he have to wash his hands before he makes wudu, even though the Prophet ﷺ always used to wash his hands? They say, no, it's only a sunnah. So therefore, it's clear that sometimes continuity does not always indicate obligation. Any questions? Yeah.
I think it's just a general question. A sister who has makeup on, did wudu, and the makeup's still on.
Yes.
The question is like pen marks or paint.
Sure. So we'll be covering this more in detail later. But basically, the washing of the face, as we mentioned, and therefore the washing of anything, whenever the word ghasl is included, it means the water has to touch and flow on the skin. And the skin itself means the skin. And if there is anything on the skin which is preventing that water touching the skin, then the wudu is incomplete. So if there is makeup which is preventing that, because it's water, whatever they call it, I don't know, waterproof or something? Waterproof, then that's going to be unacceptable. The water has to go to the skin. There's two different types of things on the skin. There's that which is completely hydrophobic and it doesn't allow the water to touch it, and there's that which is hydrophilic. and it's not makeup and dyes and so on and paint, whatever, is not all hydrophobic, like henna. Okay? Henna? Mehndi. Okay, let's stick to the pack word, it's much easier, yeah? Mehndi, yeah? That stuff is crazy, right? I'm not talking about the brown one, I'm talking about when we take the brown bakwas off, I'm talking about the orange stuff underneath, yeah? So that, okay, it dyes the skin. It doesn't actually go on top of the skin. So the skin itself has taken that color. And so when you put water on it, it's actually upon the skin. Whereas all this kind of, Maybelline and and hold on, what's the one that I'm worth it? Because I know I'm worth it. L'Oreal.
Oh yeah.
Is that I'm worth it? You don't know, yeah? I know, man, because I'm definitely worth it. What is it? What's that guy, the actor guy? I think it's L'Oreal, man. Anyway, the point is that stuff, I don't know whether they do one which is like henna. So anything, and that applies to paint, that applies to some kind of lacquer, whatever. Yeah? Question? Yeah.
You said that in one statement, Imam Ahmed Rahimahullah said that the inside of the nose and the inside of the mouth is sunnah. But in another statement, he said that the inside of the nose is part of faith.
And not the mouth.
And not the mouth.
And then in another narration, and if you remember from the early lessons of LP, we explained basically the manhaj, the methodology of the Hanbali madhab. One of his difficulties is that there's often 2 or 3 narrations that come from Imam Ahmed, and the students of Imam Ahmed and the people who formulated the madhab, they often differed amongst themselves what is going to be the official position of Imam Ahmed, and then therefore the official position of the Hanbali madhab. And so normally we look to people like Ibn Qudama and so on to actually say that this is a position of the madhab. In any case, this matan, Zad al-Mustaqni', okay, is considered to be quite an authoritative representation in the madhab, and even though there are many Hanbalis that don't accept that, but according to Imam Hajjawi, a number of the Hanbali scholars, this is the strongest position from the 3 riwayat, that the inside of the nose and the inside of the mouth is part of the face, therefore you do need to wash them, like the Zahiri position. Okay, but as we said, that there are a number of different versions of that. The inside of the nose, not the mouth, neither inside of the nose or the mouth, or both inside of the nose and the mouth. So these are the variations. Okay, folks, we're good with that. All right. Yep.
What sister's asking?
What time is match a day? That's all I care about.
You've got plenty of time.
Just tell me what time it is.
It's 9:30. But match a day.
9:30.
Match a day.
Yeah. Tilla banda gives a heart attack, man. 10:15. All right. Okay. Then the rest of it's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
My sister's asking, ghusl, we mentioned during Hajj or when they're in water,
Yep.
use a bottle or
Yep.
mask.
Yep.
You, at the same time, you're saying it needs to trickle down.
That's right. It will.
You
Absolutely. Yep. Don't think that just because we use little bits of water, it won't trickle.
Someone wants to know what Ahlul Hadith, who are they?
They're not Jamiat al-Hadith. That's what they're not. Ahl Hadith are not Jamiat al-Hadith from Pakistan.
I'm just saying it as it's written.
That's fine. That's fine. She needs to go back to the early lessons. Give her the reference to Sheikh Kehlan's 1 or 2 sessions which he dedicated to the manhaj of Ahlul Hadith. Remember, we divided the scholars into the people of fiqh, Ahlul Fiqh, the fuqaha, and Ahlul Hadith. They generally differ in their methodology, that's all. They're very much dependent upon Hadith as a primary source of legislation and understanding, whereas the other scholars are using more principles, and they are happy to put the Hadith second best if it doesn't agree with the established principle. That's a book, that's a PhD, that is that question, who are Ahlul Hadith. Anyway, yep.
When washing the hands before wudu, does one say Bismillah before washing the hands?
That's coming later. Okay, we'll call it there. Oh yeah, one more question, yeah.
Sheikh, you mentioned at the beginning, you said about students with knowledge, they should bear in mind that different scholars had three numbers for something, 4 numbers for something.
Different criterions, different methodologies, different systems.
So I assume that the scholars themselves accept that as well. There's a difference.
Absolutely.
But then, is this only for fiqh? Because I remember there's a big hoo-ha, for example, when it comes to aqeedah, and they say Tawheed al-Hakimiyya.
The irony is that I gave that exact example in fiqh of salah. It's not about fiqh. It's about anything. It's about education.
But then even like say, well, according to certain groups, I won't name it, but so, they say Sheikh Salih Fawzan said isolated Hakimiyya is 20th century ignoramus.
It's
Shaykh
what?
Ibn al-Fi-
It's what?
ignoramus.
Oh, an ignoramus. So, okay. No,
Ignorance, yeah.
no. One
So,
second.
I mean,
No,
if
no.
you split it to four categories, it's the same of the ignorant astray. for
Yeah.
example.
Let me explain what's going on. First of all, my statement was what? That dividing numbers, parameters, whatever, is not about fiqh, it's about education. Meaning that the scholars who did that, okay, who did and classified anything into any category and named it anything in any subject, only did that for what reason? Teaching. For the ease of the student to understand. Actually, for Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, if we were going to be, hafidhahullah, if we were going to be, rude and so on, then actually what's actually ignorant is to divide Tawheed into anything straight off. Do you understand? The reason that we divide it into three, al-uluhiyya, al-rububiyyah, asma sifat, just makes it easy for people to understand. Do you think the companions were told this is rububiyyah? You understand? So actually, the point is that when we what they are saying that the person's an ignoramus is that we have been teaching in our schools, in our systems, these three types to make it easier, and now we've got a group of troublemakers who are trying to create a fourth category to try and confuse people and so on. In actual fact, and that's what he's criticizing. They'll be saying, actually, if you really study rububiyyah or uluhiyya properly, it comes under it anyway. No one is denying the hukm of Allah and its exclusivity when it comes to politics and rule and so on and so forth. No need for a separate category. Rather, there's ulterior motives, and often there are when it comes to the issues of politics and aqidah. But I wanted to bring it back. It's a non-argument. It's no problem at all if you believe in 4 categories, 5 or 3. It's about how you're dividing them. There's, for example, Ibn Taymiyyah, he says there's 2 categories of Tawheed. The one referring to the actions, one referring to this. It depends on what kind of manner you're dividing. Yeah, the context. So this is important for the student knowledge. You can see the student knowledge will look at that and he'll know, whereas the one who doesn't know, he'll say, oh my God, it's a 4th category. And he'll start losing his, mind over a 4th category. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because he doesn't understand what does a 4th category even mean. So this is an important lesson actually for all students of knowledge. So Jazakumullah khair. I'd like you guys just to stay seated for a few minutes. I just want to ask you something. Barakallahu feek. Inshallah next week, same time. Again, everyone online, please visit the Prophetic Guidance webpage and the Last Testament. I'd like you to get that news out and do me a favor and spread it amongst your contacts. And let's get that going viral as much as possible. I think it's a wonderful project, especially to send to non-Muslims. And also, actually, subhanAllah, we recorded it for non-Muslims. We did it. The crowd was all the MPs and councillors and all the non-Muslim neighbours and everyone. They packed out the hall, and when we did it, okay, they loved it. SubhanAllah, they loved it. Okay, there were many people who were there on that day, and but when we then recorded it and we produced it as an audio. We found that the Muslims liked it more, and it is a buzz. MashaAllah, the recitation is awesome. And it's the only authentic, actual released recitation of Shaykh Abdul Ghaffar that there is. So many people were and he's reciting in the riwayah or the qira'ah of Duri, and that's also very nice as well. So make sure you spread that. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka Allahumma wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, so what I need from you guys, if you don't mind, I know it's late. What's that, man? Yeah, that's done. I just need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Yeah, because I have a Shaz, can you bring that thing up? Huh? Yeah, you know what it is? I need to see it. Actually, what I need you to do is that, can you bring up that document? Actually, even more important than it being there, is actually for me to be able to write onto a PDF version. You can annotate it. Bring up the document itself. And don't worry about it being on there. It's more important for me I just want to ask a question. Let me just give you a quick intro, guys. So First Ethical is, obviously they're the main sponsors actually behind this class, right? And they are about to soon. You'll know that there's a conference. Who was able to get tickets for the parenting conference? Anyone here? No one. Yeah, it sold out before it thingy. To be honest, it was released, I think, on couple of weeks ago. I think it sold out the next day. There's a parenting conference that is happening on the 11th of January, and I will be giving a lecture at that, and there will be a number of professionals who are experts in parenting and so on. and Idris Khamise is one of them, and so on. This conference is not only touching upon parenting, but it's also the launch of a new curriculum called Ilm to Amal, which is actually focusing on the muamalat aspects, the kind of the non-ibadah aspects of the Islamic curriculum for children. The kind of things that if they go to a madrasa mosque they don't learn, or if they go to a non-Muslim school they won't ever have any access to. So issues on adab, akhlaq, muamalat, contracts, social kind of interactions and so on. Those areas that you just don't get to learn, basically. So it will be the launch of that curriculum. That curriculum is Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4. This is, for those who are interested in education, this is always something which is a big launch. On